What's up, A to Z Sports Nashville? Easton Freeze here, Titans beat writer and reporter. Got our final draft interview series episode for you today with the great Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports and Football 301. If you know anything about sports media at this point, if you don't know who Nate Tice is, you're about to get a crash course in how he's the man. And we're going through the Titans draft class, all of the notable picks, his thoughts on Cam Ward, all the way down. Very great conversation. Before we get into it, though, just want to make sure that you guys know we did this series all spring long, and there's still some great episodes that have held up that are still like interesting, especially post draft. Our very first episode with Brian Callahan, who was our probably most notable guest, I would say, is still fantastic. It's very long, obviously, but go check it out. It's a great glimpse into what the Titans were setting out to do in this draft cycle, and I think they accomplished it. And it's nice to go back in hindsight and see where their minds were in January, now that we're here in May. Our first non-head coach interview was with my guy, Marcus Whitman, over at That Franchise Guy on YouTube. Marcus, also fantastic. Him and I sat down in the stands at the Senior Bowl and talked all about the quarterbacks in this class. And his guy was Cam Ward. And he really was the first person that started to sell me on the vision for Cam Ward. This was right before I did my own tape study of him. And a lot of what Marcus said holds up today. I mean, it aged very well. So go and check that out. A lot of other fantastic guests. Quarterback coach Sean McAvoy came on with us. Corey Kinnan, who's a fantastic burgeoning voice in draft media. All the Ringer NFL fantasy football guys. Danny Heifetz, Danny Kelly, Craig Horlbeck. Those guys are a blast. Had a hilarious time with them at the Combine. Talked with Ben Solak of ESPN. Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports and Football 301 as well, one of Nate's teammates over there at Yahoo. Derek Klassen, Trevor Sikkema, a lot of fantastic folks. Go watch those videos. They will be linked in the description below here. There's a whole playlist on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel with all of that stuff on there. And this is our final one of the season. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. Hopefully I get the chance to do more of this kind of thing in the future, because I love interviewing all of my friends in sports media who have great perspective on the Titans picks when it comes to the draft, and Nate Tice certainly brings that. So without further ado, Nate Tice. All right, I'm joined by Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports, Football 301, a fantastic podcast that you should listen to. I sure do. And this is the final episode in the draft interview series we've done here at A to Z Sports. Since January, we've had a lot of mutual friends of ours, Nate, on here. Well, Brian Callahan, maybe not a mutual friend, but had him on the show. Trevor Sikkema, Derek Klassen.
We actually do know a lot of the same people, so he's actually a mutual acquaintance.
Is that right?
Yeah,
okay, well, there you go. So mutual friend Brian Callahan.
Coach's kid. We're kind of all kindred spirits when you're a coach's
right
kid
in that well, in the quarterback fraternity. Right, exactly.
Yes, also that. Yes.
Yeah. So basically best friends. Matt Harmon, Ben Solak, a bunch of guys that have been great. But you, Nate, are the first person that has had the privilege of actually knowing who's on the team to talk about, not hypotheticals, which is nice. And so we're going to talk about the dudes that made the team, and the draft was a couple of weeks ago. And so I think it's nice to get a little distance, kind of absorb all of the aftermath, and talk about how we feel about some of these guys. And first of all, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you.
No, thanks for having me. No, I'm fired up. I was talking to you right before we started recording, was that I'm enjoying talking about the Titans again. It's nice. It's nice when
back to relevance.
Yes, I know. I hate to say it. I always try to find tidbits that are interesting with every team, but for the Titans, especially the second half of last year, I was like, all right, they got to get a quarterback. And all right, I think Cam Ward's pretty good, but we'll see. All right, I want to evaluate. And once I kind of was like, yeah, Cam Ward's worth taking number one, I was like, all right, let's go Titans. We're let's go. Let's get excited.
Get on your horse.
So,
yeah,
let's go. You're relevant again. No, but happy to be here. Very excited to talk about this.
I'm somebody that always in season fights like editors on diving into draft stuff too early, because I know that once I get to like May, I will be, fiending for that disgusting Thursday night football game. Like I force myself to appreciate it. And last year was the first year that I kind of had to break and be like, all right, I'll start focusing on the draft in December. It's fine. Yeah, whatever. There's nothing else to talk about. Dadgummit. So, we got a lot of draft talk around here in Tennessee, but it's paid off in a big way with Cam Ward at number one. And you wrote an article that you actually went on with our buddy Buck Rising here in 104.5 a month ago, something like that, to talk about this. And it was a great interview. So we're not going to repeat that interview here, but your headline was Cam Ward is much more than the top quarterback in a weak class. Here's why. And I think that collectively we've kind of come around on that throughout the process. He that was the perception coming out. And it's always funny, you know, we come out of December and January, and maybe the summer scouting group think is what everybody started. That's the starting point for where everybody begins. And then as the rest of us watch throughout February and March and April, those opinions can change pretty significantly. And I think Ward is a great example of one of those guys that when people sat down and watched the totality of his college career, it's like, oh, no, this guy is somebody that is worthy of a first overall pick, not just in a bad class. So what were the big takeaways for you when you sat down and did that?
Yeah, watching. So, like, you know, there's a preseason process for me scouting college guys, and then this year I did a midseason big board, which I'm hoping to never do again. But I did it because I'm so NFL brain during the season that it's. But you know, I'm glad I did it, you know, for work wise. But in the heat of the moment, it was a lot. So I would say during that process, I'm only watching 2 games, you know, just because I gotta get through it, and I'm watching 2 games of each guy, and it's only the first half of the year, so it's right as conference play is just starting. So even when then watching Cam Ward, I saw Cam Ward and Garrett Nussmeier from LSU starting to kind of like, these are 2 guys I can dig. Like, they're not perfect, they're not great, like they're not the amazing, perfect blue chip prospects, but I can work with these 2. And then kind of like, all right, unplugged for a little bit. And then once I got into January, once the regular season started, all right, now I got all these second half of the season games. And I knew I was going to write about Cam Ward. He had emerged as kind of the, you know, favorite to be QB1 even in January. But still, a lot of people had maybe on the teens their big board, 20s their big board. It wasn't like a top 5 guy on everyone's big boards, including mine. And did my study. I watched 6 to 8 games on quarterbacks, every one that I think is relevant. And I watched them, and it was like, oh, I've been kind of doing you a disservice. And just watched him that, yeah, there's the ad-lib plays and everything, and there's some funkiness to his game. Unorthodox, I think is the word I kept coming back to with him, was that, but he was staying, there's more timing to him. There was more polish to his play. And on top of, you know, the traits as far as like size, plenty sturdy and everything, you know, doesn't have ideal height, hand size, or probably other blemishes, but just watching him play and watching him against Syracuse, watching him against these teams in the second half of the year, I'm like, oh, you get this. You get how to play quarterback, and he's not just a playmaker. And that's a big difference to me. It's that he actually understands the timing, like even RPOs, which are the most simple thing in a way for quarterbacks to do. And that's why it's a training wheels play. Cam Ward understood when to pull it, but it also wasn't like he didn't get discombobulated if it didn't unfold cleanly. You'll see a lot of quarterbacks. There's even a guy this year I'm high on, Fernando Mendoza, is that as soon as they call the RPOs and say a defender rushes them a little quicker, they had that moment of like, oh shoot, I'm going to try. And Cam will throw a ball submarine style to get it around a defender. He'll throw it with touch up and over a defender. And it was so cool because it looks funky. But if you just took away what it looked like and you just looked at the timing and where the ball placement was, it's ideal. It's pristine. And that's the stuff that I was like, oh, okay. And the line I kind of came to was that he's a jazz musician that knows how to read sheet music. And that's kind of why I went to
I love it.
Funky. He can go all over the place, but no matter what, the timing is always there. You know, he's still on beat. It's just that he can just do it in different ways. And the one throw that will burn in my brain forever, and I don't even think it was a completion, was against Syracuse. It's a 3rd down. Blitzer's coming right at him. He throws sidearm on 1/4 angle around the defender and hits the guy. Like the guy had
should have been a completion.
Should have been a completion.
Yeah.
In a top quarterbacks, every NFL quarterback can make big throws. It's like it's a prerequisite. That's why these guys are in the NFL. It's the denominator as far as what throws they can access. And Cam Ward can access every type of throw. And once I realized that, I was like, okay. All right, you're in my top 10. I think you ended up at 6 for me, or 7 or 8, somewhere in that range for me on my big board. I would not consider him like I had, you know, Drake May and Caleb Williams higher, Jane Daniels maybe a little higher, but I would say I started the process with Cam Ward lower than that, and then it creeped up that I probably considered him between that Jane Daniels, JJ McCarthy tier. For me, that's a first rounder. That's a top 12, 14 pick in any draft class. Yeah. So I felt almost bad for Ward during this process. That everyone's like, yeah, whatever. He's just the afterthought. Where's Shadur going? And I'm
Yep.
just like, no. Focus. This guy's a QB1. This is a number one pick, and he's going to be good, and he's fun, and his personality seems like a winner. And so I almost got frustrated for him. So I just kept saying, I was like, this is a real deal QB1, real deal QB1. So I think Titans fans are in for a treat with him. But I just really, throughout that process, I'm glad I did the deep dive, because then I learned to appreciate his game so much more.
Do you think that the thing that, because I'm with you that he is a worthy first overall pick and an easy top 10 player in this class, but he's not, he's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not Caleb Williams in terms of the perfect prospect that is a clear number one player on a board. Is what's holding him back the ceiling in terms of NFL quarterback play? Maybe that's athletically, whatever flaw you think it is that's going to hold him back, or is that the lack of polish coming out of college? What is more concerning to you?
I would say no, it's not the lack of polish, because almost I think his lack of polish leads to his success. Like that's why, being in that wing T high school offense and not being, I'm really bullish on quarterbacks that since 12 years old haven't been the dude. They've been playing other sports. They were at a small school. They're not going to 500 camps, because I think those guys
trained super soldiers since middle school.
There's so many winter soldiers out there.
Exactly.
There are. And I grew up around it. But really, and seeing that, I mean, honestly, not to knock the guy, but that's why I was a little lower on Bryce Young. I was like, all right, what else am I tapping into? Since 9 years old, this guy has been going to camps and been like polished to like refined as possible. And so but then I'll be more bullish on a guy, even this year, a guy that went this day 3, Riley Leonard. This guy didn't go to any camps. He was a basketball player. Guy. Okay. But I'm willing to bet on that more than other guys. But I think that is a good thing, because then there's, in theory, this is all theory, that there's more to tap into, that you're saying, well, he hasn't been coached this way, so maybe we can even get this more out of him. I would say my blemishes and why I didn't consider him like a true blue chip, which I'm pretty hard about, especially with quarterbacks, is that some of his deep ball stuff would fade on him. I think some of the small hands and sidearm throwing, that's where that comes from. So if he pushes the ball to the outside, he just has a fade on it. And I think he can fix that, but I also think his throwing style is always going to lead to some of those fadings. So those are little blemishes for me. Hand size, that's a knock for me as well. So that's why, like, if I'm giving you a blue chip, it's like, all right, like Caleb was even tough for me to give some blue chips to, because I was like, well, I actually had more blemishes on him than others, and I still really liked him though. But I just think like those are the little knocks on him. There's some, a couple of mistakes he makes when he goes on a heat check moment, those types of polish. So like that kind of was like a little bit of iffiness for me as well. But that's the thing. His strengths are strong. Like he was what I call a hard green prospect, like what I consider very prospect. Good. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
I have to color code everything. I have to keep it very simple for my brain, because I've learned that people get a little too minutia with grading. And so I'm just like, no, tier it in your brain. It's going to help you long-term.
I'm with you. Yeah. What's a 7-3? Okay. 7-2, 7-3. Okay.
Nope,
sure.
That's it. 7.
What color is he?
Yeah. Color. Purple, blue, green, yellow, orange. Then we could just work down. We're good.
So on day 2, Titans make a trade and get back a pick that they didn't have, and they grab a couple of defenders. Wanted to get your thoughts on maybe the upside for these two guys, Samuel Adejo, edge rusher out of UCLA, and Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State. Today's video is brought to you by our new friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, and help is only a click away at bartdurham.com. At Bart Durham, your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. They've been in business since 1975, so they have half a century of experience dealing with all kinds of wrecks. They're locally operated here in Capitol View, Nashville, but they can fight for anyone in Kentucky or Tennessee who's been in an auto accident. Attorneys are available to meet with you wherever is most convenient, including virtually, and you can reach the Bart Durham team 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. Just call 615-242-9000 and let Bart Durham help today. Both, I know, again, trying to kind of read the minds of the front office, what they're thinking. I know that they see these two as tremendous potentials for different reasons. With Femi, it's the fact that he only played 10 games at what they think is his natural position. And they think that he's on a rocket ship right now, and that potential he's not near it. And then with Winston, everybody talking about how, well, this guy may have been, like a fringe first round pick if he'd been able to play last year. And He's like the best tackling safety we've ever seen. And it's just a matter of having not played but 2 games in his final year. Is that what you see here? A couple of guys that are just tremendous upside defensive picks on day 2?
Yeah, yeah, that's, you nailed it. Oladejo is really interesting though, because sometimes when these guys are quote unquote projects, they have like one play a week that you're building off of. He can play football, like, you know what I mean? And the thing is that when you guys have a guy changing positions too, it's just a different point of attack for these guys, a different POV. I mean, literally for these guys too. So that's why you try to make these arguments when you're making a player profile and going like, all right, he isn't able to do this. Are there reasons why he's not able to do that? Or is that just his play style? So like with Oladejo, it's like, I see that he's actually a football player. Like, this is not a guy that I'm like, okay, this is just an idea that you're taking, which I think is nice. Those are, to me, especially, you know, they're not ideal right now as far as the I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. The outside edges, or the edges for the Titans defense, I'm still, you know, it's not maybe not the
you
strong
think so?
point.
You think?
So,
okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'd like Oladejo.
I'm gonna write that down. That's news around here. Folks haven't realized.
I know,
that.
right? Yeah, I was trying to word this perfectly, but like Oladejo might be, I would maybe prefer him on a defense that there's already dudes there, and then he can be the third guy. So that's the iffiness. But I understand the pick, and I also understand how that draft was breaking at that point. He was kind of the cutoff between 2 tiers, it seemed like, depending on how you preferred him. He was either the end of maybe the top tier of edge guys, and then or the beginning of the next tier of edge guys.
Right.
You know, kind of.
Well, I think it was even more than that, right? Because that day 2 crop of edge was so, I mean, it was infinite, the list. There's so many guys that you felt like could be year 2 or year 3. Like, this guy's just going to work. But are any of them going to be year 1? Probably not. You know, like Landon Jackson, what's the ceiling there? And I think with Femi, it is the floor is not what some of those other guys were. There is more concern. But I think that he may have been like the last stop for, if you're looking for somebody with some upside, here it is.
Yeah, Landon Jackson's a great example, because I think everybody in the league knew what even Landon Jackson knew what Landon Jackson was.
You know exactly what he's a useful player.
I'm going in the second round.
Yeah. Did he really?
Yeah, he said in an interview. He's like I hope he ends up being a good pro, because he's a good interview. Like he has a good head on his shoulders. Like, I actually really like Landon, so I'm glad he brought up his name. But that's a great point. I think everyone was in agreement with Landon Jackson is. It's like, oh yeah, solid. You know, like, solid.
He's gonna work for us.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of teams are doing this. Like, not a lot of teams are doing this, but so like the Bengals, I did not really like their draft, but I understood what they're trying to do. They're tilting the shoulder back and going, this is our chance to get some stars. I don't love it, like, because of their makeup, but I understand the argument that they're trying to do. And that's the thing that you do. Do we draft a Landon Jackson who's solid, has some limitations, or do we draft the mystery box that actually has better tape than most mystery boxes? And Oladejo is a guy that really won me over in the process, because I kind of waved him away at first, and then I kind of rewatched the edges, and I'm like, oh, okay, actually, yeah, you actually have something to him. But moving on to Winston, though, I really like Winston. I totally agree. I had him more more as like a round 2 guy, but a legitimate starting safety, can tackle, can fill downhill. That was a very aggressive defense too with Penn State. So he had, when he was on the field, tasked with a lot as far as where to fill up voids and all that type of stuff. So that defense translates as far as the back end into the NFL. So even if he doesn't have all the playing time recently, like that, I think his head is there too. Like, he is a true quarter safety that can kind of, I like to use the term two-way safety.
Yes.
You know, can come up on the run, can play I would say he's pretty good in coverage. I wouldn't say he's amazing, but he's pretty good in coverage. Can do a lot. Balanced is a good
reliable.
Word. So yeah, reliable. And hey, that's when you take reliable. And I think this defense, which is really interesting defense to me. I mean, I'm probably the number 1 national guy in Roger McCreary. But like that,
you get it, man. It's a good player. Good player,
and I keep trying to tell people about him, and no one wants to listen.
Yeah,
but getting more solid back there, that makes sense. You have playmakers, so getting a guy that's balanced, that's solid. I always like that kind of synergy.
Well, it's not surprising. I mean, for people that were sick enough or paid to, like me, watch this team last year, you can draw a direct line from when they lost Quandre Diggs to when the defense started to fall apart. He was their fixer for the first 2 months
God,
of the year. And
it was so good for a minute too.
It was, and it was the spine. So we came into the year, Nate, talking about how the spine of this defense is a real concern, like who at middle linebacker and who at safety is going to step up. And kind of at the last minute, they add Diggs and they add Ernest Jones to the mix. And those two single-handedly on tape for the first 8 games were just making them right everywhere. And then they lost them both in back-to-back weeks, and it immediately fell apart. And it's like, well, that's there it is. So it doesn't surprised me one bit that Winston's the kind of guy that they want to bring in, and both of their starting safeties are on 1-year deals. Like, this is the guy that's going to restore that a little bit for us, or at least they think so.
Yeah, no, and that's what, and also when you try to bridge that, it's like, again, we're talking about the flip side of what the edges look like. When you don't have to rely on the rookie starting day one, other than first rounders, when you don't have to do that, that's ideal. Do what the Bucks do. That's what I always say. The Colossus, the Colossus of Rhodes. You bridge the present with the future, one foot on each side. Like that's the Bucks do it better than anybody. And yes, they are. That's a benefit of having a long-term GM and just kind of stability that they've had in weirdest ways. But yeah, this is what you always want to do when you take a guy on day 2 that you're expecting to play. Is like, okay, we don't need you to start. We want you to start if you're good enough, but we don't need you. And that's a much better situation, I would say, on the back end.
Finally, I want to talk about 4 notable pass catchers that they added on day 3, 3 draft picks, and a UDFA that a lot of people weren't expecting to be a UDFA, but worked out for the Titans, worked out for Cam Ward. So, they draft Gunnar Helm. Let's set the receivers aside for a second. Gunnar Helm, tight end in the 4th round, who you don't talk about just like kind of know what he is, solid. I know that, talking to the people in the building, he was the guy that I got the most animated response from in terms of their excitement level, this offensive coaching staff. And I think that's due to the fact that he may be the guy outside of Cam Ward in this draft class that is most liable to hit the ground running a little bit and be an impact out of the gate. Because he's the kind of guy that is going to be Cam Ward's best friend, right?
Yep. He's all reliable. That's what it is. But not, his timing, of course, was awful, but he doesn't play like that at all. And I think that was just a blip, or just a weird thing, he does not play like that. Like, I'm not saying he's a freak. I'm not saying he's a 4.4 guy or anything, but like, he's not a 4.84 guy. He's like a mid 4.7 guy, something of that sort. So I kind of threw out that number because just his tape is good. I just think, I just did Arch Manning, wrote up on him that it was watching him throw to Gunnar Helm was that was his safety valve. And actually an efficient mover after the catch. He's efficient. Maybe that's the best word to put. He's an efficient receiver, efficient blocker too. Like, he's not going to pancake everyone, but he's going to fight and everything. But just efficient. Gets 2-3 yards after the catch. He catches everything. Got really good body control as well. But he's your classic kind of underneath safety valve tight end. But that's what you take on day 3. I'm also another national guy that loves Josh Wiley.
Wow,
I've always kept an eye on him because he just does some stuff, and I've always been kind of like keen on seeing if he could become anything. So like,
there are flashes. It's just
there are like, I don't know. It's
when they got a room here with Josh and Chig and now Gunnar, I think they're just break the pool cue 3 ways and say somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Please,
hey, let's figure it out. There. Oh no, no. I actually like all 3 tight ends in just different ways. But I really think that adds to a room. But again, saying that he does not have to play day 1. But the thing is, he can play day 1. And also I just think they asked him to move around a lot too. Like he would split out. So that shows to me mental capacity that you're able to handle different assignments and everything. I think he's just kind of a pro's pro. Nice, solid receiving tight end that can just do a little bit of everything. These are nice. It was a good tight end class. And I figured that he was getting a little hyped on day 2. And I was like, but where he ended up going, perfect. Like I thought that was his perfect slot.
Alec Iamaner wasn't their first receiver taken, but spiritually, in my heart, I'm going to rewrite canon and say that he was, because I love this guy. He's somebody that I was devastated to see them not take with the first pick on day 3, and then just stoked to see them still manage to get him somehow.
Yeah, we're good.
What I was told was that the only reason he fell, because I want to ask where he was on your board because I didn't go and refresh my memory on that, but. I was told that the only reason he fell out of day 2 was due to some medical stuff, which I don't know any details on yet. So that's TBD. But let's set that aside. I like the tape. I like it a lot. And he's one of like, I don't know, 5 guys in this entire receiver class that I feel like is a real, like, meant to play the X. Like, actually, like, I can trust you on the boundary. And that was a rare commodity in this class. And he was also somebody that I every year I have a list of guys that's like, let's get them in an offense that isn't, you know, the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life and see what happens. That Stanford offense is an abomination. They didn't know how to run and they were afraid to throw, which was how I described it to people. What is there not to like about this guy? Why is he not somebody that could be, especially in this receiver room, Nate? Holy opportunity.
Yeah.
He should be able to take some reps in this first season.
Yeah. He's gonna be a coach's favorite too. First and foremost, his greatest calling card is he's a badass blocker. Like, he is like one of the best blocking receivers you'll ever watch in your entire life. And on top of it, he aligns everywhere. Which again, showing mental capacity. Actually, the guy, and this feels like a lazy scouting the helmet moment, but he reminds me a lot of Michael Wilson with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And they're both Stanford guys, so it's kind of, oh, dang it. But they're the same size. They kind of he can be a power slot. He could be an X. He could be a Z. He can line up all 3 spots. And I think also there's something about Canadians too. Like, maybe they have more to tap into, you know,
sure.
There's a theory. But he took mentioned the Stanford offense. It was garbage. He had the highest target share, I think, of all receivers that came out, like, because that offense was so bad. His biggest blemish to me is drops. And it's weird because it's a mix of contested drops, concentration drops. Like, there's not just one type of drop he has that you go, like, Jerry Jeudy was at drops, but it was like, all right, don't throw it at Jerry Judy's body because Jerry Jeudy doesn't know how to turn his hands. It still doesn't. But with Alec is like, it's just weird. Sometimes he drops one on his chest. Sometimes he's dropping it up here. And like, sometimes it's when he's on the move. So it's just, there's no reason for it. So that's really the big negative too. But also, you know, some of the routes too, like, he still needs some route polish and everything. He's best on like runway routes where he can really build up some steam and be a big burly guy. He ended up 61 on my big board. Like, I saw him as a late second, 3rd round pick. I had a big group of receivers kind of that tier. So I figured some of these guys would drop to the 4th. Just, I mean, look at the run of corners that happened in round 3. So some of these guys got pushed down. But I really like him because no matter what, even if he doesn't turn into a 1 or even a high end 2, this guy, no matter what, is useful. He is, at the worst to me, floor wise, a good number 3. And I mean that as a compliment. Because this guy can play all 3 spots, he can block, and he can just do other things. Like, he's just useful to me. If he didn't have drops, it'd be like really hard for me to like say this guy won't make it. Because I don't know, there's just a lot that he does well, and I think, again, he's gonna be a coach's favorite because of that stuff too. So like, they're gonna want him on the field because he's gonna help out the team. So great compliment for Calvin too. Couldn't get any more different styles, power, finesse, like, you know. So he made a lot of sense for the Titans to me. Like, like when he went there, I was like, oh yeah, yep, that makes total sense. Yep. So I really like this pick. I was wondering where he would end up, and when he went with the Titans, I'm like, yep, got it. He might be the one receiver Bill Callahan goes, oh yeah, I want that guy.
Bill. Yeah, exactly.
Bill.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Bill. The O-line coach
I can use this
guy.
Exactly. So just get on the jugs machine, Alec. Just go get 1,000 balls. We can fix drops.
No, that's it. But he does a lot. It's just these guys are useful. These are the guys that stick. They just do, because they're tough and smart and athletic enough that he can pull away from guys. These guys are useful.
Penny, for your thoughts on the last 2 guys who, speaking of, couldn't be any more different, Xavier Restrepo and Chimere Dike. The run of receivers that went before Alec, kind of the top of day 3, it just felt like the league was sorting them based on speed. Like, let's just get the fastest guys. And I mean, Chimere Dike isn't a guy that was high on many boards. He's got decent size. He's got the speed that you're looking for. To his credit, speaking of guys that played in pretty brutal situations for a receiver, what could he be? What could he be in the NFL? I'm having a hard time placing what the vision is for a guy like him.
It's just to take a top off the defense. It's just to clear up space for everybody else. I struggle with guys like this because, in the weirdest way, you can always find speed. Well, like, and that's why when guys go early, like a Tutu Atwell back in the day, where like he went high, it's like I can find this. I can. Yes, they might not have skills and they might not have
Right.
all the other stuff. If they did, they would go round one. Like if you run
Yes.
a 4.3 and you had skills, you're going in the top 40, top 50 at the worst.
But there's always a Khalif Raymond floating around out there somewhere.
Always.
Yeah.
I look at them as like relief pitchers or something like that. Like you can find these guys and you can find them late. They're fungible in a way, almost like speed guys or almost like nose tackles. You need one. You always need one, but you don't have to. You can invest heavy on a really good one, but it's like you don't have to. You always need one. You always need one on your roster, but the investment changes depending on the team. So that's just how I look at him. He's taking the top off, and I think it's a dart throw. Your line, what you just said, that it felt like the teams were just shortened by speed. That's how I felt on draft day. I was like, some of these, because I'll be honest, DK was a round 6, round 7 guy to me. Because of these things. I think he's speed only, but it's not the worst thing. You're taking on day 3, whatever. If you're taking them round 3, round 2, then I have issues. Those are valuable picks. But if you like, that's what he's brought to do. And then you get in the complete opposite with Xavier Restrepo, who is, I've tweeted this now for 3
Where did you
years.
have him?
So I only had to do a top 75. He probably
so you didn't. Yeah.
No, he didn't make that. He probably would have like pick 101. Like just miss. I love Xavier Restrepo. I started watching him 3 years ago when I was scouting Tyler Van Dyke. Back when I thought he might have been a nice quarterback prospect. That's how long ago that's how long Restrepo's been in college too.
Yep.
So he's just all reliable. I knew he wouldn't test well, but that became a whole thing because then he fought it and was saying, it's like, just shut up. You're making it worse.
Yeah, I know.
I also think that's part of why he fell too, is that his personality, I think some people get a little graded by it. This is just what I hear. But I do think, dude's a football player. He's a baller.
Yep.
Like he catches everything. I've tweeted this now. It's been a running bit for 3 years. So since I've been watching Tyler Van Dyke, is only good things happen when you throw the ball to Xavier Restrepo. Like he's just a lucky charm player. Like I don't know, something about it. Like some of these guys, the ball comes their way and good things happen. But I think undrafted, sure, why not? He has chemistry with Cam Ward. Go for it. Like you're not taking this guy in the top 3 rounds. But yeah, I like him. I could actually see him making the team because he just has these kind of qualities that reliable. Like if you're reliable and if he's smart enough and he kind of keeps his nose down, he'll be fine, because I think he's just another kind of quarterback's best friend type of player. That's
what's so annoying about him to me, is that to no fault of his own, people ask me like, okay, so what's the word on him? And it's like, well, not really an NFL athlete, not really NFL size. But he does have these unquantifiable things of just magically things work when you throw him the ball. Yeah. And also he has this magical connection with Cam Ward that is clearly a thing. Yep. I don't know what to make of those things, like the magic of this player, because it shouldn't work, but it does. So I don't know. He'll probably make the team somehow. Yeah, I know. And then Cam Ward's going to probably take every individual period with him. So he'll get his reps and everything. Yeah. No, I shouldn't say I'm glad he went undrafted, but I actually thought that was good for him, because now he goes to a spot that he can maybe make it, or maybe goes into a situation. And this is a wide open receiver room. I mean, really, there can't be a better spot for him, right? No. Back with this guy, as much opportunity as possible. Yes. Yeah. This was smart on his part. I like him. It's one of those things where I'm as big as more than most people on trades. So like NFL's a trades league, but there is something to just being a ball player. Like there is these guys, right? It's hard, again, like hard to quantify. It's just like, just figure it out somehow. And I've watched this guy for 3 years now. Just figure it out. Like just make plays no matter what. So there was an old receiver from Oregon State. I think the Saints drafted him in the 6th round. Mike Haas. Okay. Yeah. And he had a great line because his offensive coordinator was Paul Christ, who was my offensive coordinator at Wisconsin. And Paulie's one of the greatest storytellers ever. And he said he ran like a 4.68 or something like that. Same exact thing, 4.7. And he just goes, gotta be one step faster than the DB. That's right. When I run, just gotta be one step faster than the DB. It's like they only can run as fast as I run. It's like,
It's a good point. He only lasted
Fair
in the league
enough.
for like 6 months, but still, I still love that line. So if it does work out where a slow guy works, I'm going to always use that line. Keenan Allen might have been the best example for
Yep.
it.
Yep. Don't have to be faster than the bear. Just have to be faster than the last guy. Right.
Yes, that's it.
Well, he's Nate Tice. Nate, very appreciative of your time. What do you got going on? Like, are you going to go into hibernation for the summer, or are you still
Pretty
doing
soon.
stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're about to have our second child next month, so I'll be in paternity leave for a couple-
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, for about 6 weeks. That'll be nice. Right in time for summer break. I try to time this up as well as
Yeah. That was
so it worked
perfect
out.
planning on your part. Well
Yeah,
done.
thank you. No, and then until then, football 301 once a week, and then I just wrote up Arch Manning, who's got the goods. Might not come out next. He might not declare next season, but the season after that. But he's good. He's worth the hype, which it was nice to see, because I was like, oh god, if he's bad, then this is gonna be an exhausting,
Be ugly.
exhausting few months. That I just went through it this past year and trying to.
I was
tell
about to say,
people.
we just kind of did it. Yeah.
And I just kept trying to tell people for a year, he's not going round one. He's not going round one. And no one wanted to listen, and everyone acted surprised. So I will toot my horn on that. But so working on that. And then also
Yeah, you had him in round 5, right?
No. My prediction
Told you
was
guys
round
all
2.
along.
My prediction was round 2. So
Right.
he even went a little later than I expected.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing up Fernando Mendoza, who's the new quarterback in Indiana.
I'm hearing good things about Fernando
He's awesome.
Mendoza.
I have him in my top 10, my 2 early big board. He's really good. Reminds me a little bit of Matt Ryan.
Okay.
I won't give him the full comparison yet, but there's some similarities.
Is he just suffering from being at Indiana? Is that why people aren't familiar with
no,
his
he was
game?
at Cal, and then which is even worse. And then he goes to Indiana because his brother's there. He had like big transfer offers, like from Miami and a couple other schools. He really likes the head coach, who's great offensive mind and everything.
Right.
So that offense appealed to him, which I agree with. They paid him, and then his brother's there. So like that, at first I was like, why did you end up at Indiana? And then once I realized all those things, and then realized that he had other big offers out there, I was like, okay, good. I'm not being crazy here, like just trying to hype up some loser. No, but he's a lot. The next year's quarterback class is pretty fun. There's some guys that to squint that you actually can see them ascending. So working on that stuff.
Great stuff. Appreciate it, Nate. You're the man. And maybe we'll have you back on sometime soon. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.